Well, thanks for coming down. I'm sitting here with Andrew Brooks, brewer, owner, one of the owners at Talking Cursive.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming down here.
Thanks for having us.
It's actually going to be a fun weekend because you're one of four. So I'm recording like 4 podcasts, 2 today, 2 tomorrow.
Excellent.
So, yeah, it should be pretty interesting.
So lots of editing next week.
Yeah, right, yeah. I do have to do them. We were talking just before we started. You know, are familiar with podcasting and editing. You used to have your own podcast, right?
Yeah.
I felt like I've done them. I've banked them like this, like 4 in a row, you know. My wife sometimes gets upset that I'm like down here every Saturday. So at one point I had the idea that I would record all 4 in a Saturday, and then I would have the month. So I was like, listen, honey, I'm only going to be down there 1 Saturday a month. I'm going to be gone at the studio. That never lasted.
Yeah.
I think I did it once. But what I found was if I didn't edit them right away, I would get to like that 4th one and something happened. Like the audio was off, the video was off, you know. And then I'm a month out, and I have to call the person and be like, hey, come back down here.
That was great, but can you do it again?
Let's try and have another one. That happened with Steve Samuels. We had to do his, well, we had scheduled it 3 times, but we had to record his twice. Same thing with Sam Bender, too. So, unfortunately.
Yeah, we had a couple that were, that record wasn't on.
Yeah. I actually did that once, man. Yeah. I just forgot to hit the record button. It was like 10 minutes into the conversation, and I looked down, and I was like, oh, shit. So it's been fun, man. You know, I don't know. Do you still do the podcast or?
No, just no time for anything. Well, and it was about 2CW, and they're not around anymore. So
right.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, a lot more work than you'd think,
for sure, and really no money in it.
No.
That's one thing that, like, especially getting, like, you know, we've been doing it now. I started the podcast like 3 years ago, but we really started doing episodes a little over a year ago now. I think this is going to be episode 66. And anyways, like, sponsorship money, you don't get paid shit until you've hit like a really big level.
Oh yeah, no, we would get enough. A couple of the years we got enough to like cover the website fees.
Nice, yeah.
So that we weren't just like paying to do it. You know? It was like, well, okay, we didn't lose $400 this year.
Yeah, it's like when I started a few years ago, that's how it was. You had to really know what you were doing. I used to live in Texas, in Killeen, Texas, Fort Hood. And so I worked for this mega church out there, and they had a podcast. And every week, one of my jobs would basically be take the edited audio and upload it to iTunes. And there was like a lot of fucking steps you had to go through. Yeah. You know, like every week I had like the notes that the audio engineer sent me on how to do it, and I would follow those. And nowadays, it's literally like there's Anchor, there's Podbean, there's all these companies. I don't know how they make money, but you just upload your audio file, type in your show notes, and they distribute it everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing. It also means there's like everyone has a podcast nowadays, so that makes it a little tougher. But it's great. You know, we get about 1,000 people a week, like, that listen or watch, even if whether it's just like the clip on Instagram or download the whole episode or on YouTube or whatever the case is. So that's cool that they're hearing about it, you know. But I'd love to one day be a Joe Rogan and have a $100 million contract.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, actually. I was going through, like, he's got 1,500 episodes out. It would take me 5 years doing an episode a day to get to that level.
Yeah. That's a lot.
That's a lot, man. It's a lot of talking.
It is.
Yeah. So, Talking Cursive, I was going through the notes, like, on your, like, the About Us on the website last night, which I typically don't do. So, I mean, I'm not going to paraphrase it. Tell me, you know, how'd you guys get started in beer?
It really was just something that got my wife and I together as you know, something that we enjoy to do together. You know, after so long, you kind of start doing different things, and craft beer was something that got us back together. So just going to breweries and that kind of thing. We were always in the hospitality industry back in the day, and then our kind of real jobs set in and got away from that. You know, we had looked at opening a restaurant before, and then as we were getting into our real jobs and that, 2, 3 a.m. close and all that was like, well, maybe not. Let's just get back to our real jobs. Okay, that was a nice dream. And then, craft beer and breweries came along, and it was like, well, breweries can close at 9 o'clock, even on a Friday night, So what about that? And then, well, we have to learn how to brew. So we did that. And so we took a bunch of courses with Cornell and up in Vermont. We did some training out in Colorado. And it was just really, what got us back together.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Are you from here originally?
New Woodstock originally.
Okay.
Yeah. So Casanova area.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's pretty interesting. Breweries don't stay open late. You kind of think they would, I guess.
It's a different crowd and feel than a bar usually, I think we're going to kind of stay towards that. We had gotten a little bit away with the music and the trivia and the karaoke and all that. But it's more of a cool place to hang out atmosphere, not like necessarily like the happening place where everyone's at and it's all packed and crowded, which right now anyways is
right, you can't do
a whole nother story. But it's always been about like the atmosphere and just a nice comfortable place to hang out and try some different things and talk to people and
man. I don't know of any of them that are open late.
Not really. I mean, there's a few
Empire was back in the day.
Yeah, and down in Armory, you kind of have to be,
Yeah, but I mean, they were also like, majority a restaurant.
Right.
Downtown,
Downtown, yeah,
for sure. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, listen, I can't really do the whole late night stuff anymore, anyways. So it's not like I'm complaining like, oh, you guys aren't open till 2. I'm usually in bed by 10 anyways. So, it's pretty interesting. It's, everything's changed. I mean, how was it for you guys? I want to get back to, because I'm really interested in like the classes and like kind of everything, your education with it. But how was COVID for you and Talking Cursive?
It sucked.
Oh, really? You're the first that said that.
Imagine that. No, but I mean, I think it's also done some good things. It's allowed us to take a step back and kind of relook at everything. And, we do have some other changes going on now as well. And if we were at full bore, those might be a lot harder to implement.
Yeah.
So, and we kind of basically broke it all the way down to it was me doing takeout beer and Patty doing a little bit of cooking sometimes, and then we closed the kitchen, and because that wasn't doing it, so it was basically just me there, and then we had our brewers, and they're just brewing beer and getting it out in cans, and so it was like, let's get out on delivery, but we got to be back by 4 so that I can have the tasting room open for a few hours for to go.
Right.
So it's just, as we've reopened, just building it back and slowly bringing people back and starting to build it back up. And we're about to take a couple more steps on that and, cool. Have a few more hours, I think, starting maybe not the first week of September, but in the next few weeks, we're going to, have a couple more people back, and we're going to expand our hours a little bit. We've got a lot of changes going on with the sales and the brew team as well. It's a whole nother story, but big transition in those right now as well. And being slowed down helps us do that. It's not like, okay, well, we can't brew for 3 weeks and, we're going to be out of beer. You know, it's like, okay, and we'll catch up, and that's going to be a little hairy, but we'll get through it, no problem. So.
Yeah. Did you guys have a lot of business when it was like nobody inside and it was only to go and delivery?
No. Yeah. No. I mean, there was some. A lot of our regulars, just like we want to, make sure you stay open. We're going to come and buy, another like 6 more crowlers today and in 2 more days. And
That's cool.
you know, just people doing their best to support us. And that was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just thinking
Yeah.
back on the whole thing now, I mean, it's been March. I mean, now it's almost September. It's, like
Yeah.
our anniversary was the weekend before the shutdown, you know, so
Oh,
it was
really?
like
Yeah.
flying high, like, okay, they say the first year is the hardest, you know, let's see, let's hope they're right. And that, you know, within like 4 days, it was like, shit, no, they're
That's awful.
this is going to be the worst year. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, man. Fuck COVID. I mean, this sounds terrible, and I'm sure. Well, you'd agree in some ways. I miss quarantine. Like, I mean, it sucked, but there's some ways that I miss quarantine because it really did. Like for me, it gave me the ability to, and we worked the whole way through it. So, and when I say we worked, like, you know, my 9 to 5 is at Gearhars, and my wife works for the Department of Health. And really, like, the first sign of it, her job, she does, like, the nursing home inspections. They were pulled, like, out of facilities and working from home pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
So she never had anything. There's a couple weeks where it was like, all right, what are we going to do now? But for the most part, she was working from home the whole time. And she's just started to get back into some facilities, like, a little bit. For me at Gearhars, like, we were sending salespeople to work from home, but I was in the office still, and I was really only out of the office for like 3 or 4 weeks, but still working from home, you know. Eat Local obviously dropped quite a bit. We started, before all of this, we would eat out like 4 nights a week for dinner, and I mean, I would eat out lunch pretty much every single day. And now we probably eat out like twice a week. So that's changed. That changed a lot. During quarantine, we would get to go like on a Friday night, and that was pretty much it. But it was just nice to kind of have that breather, not have to worry about like, all right, what's on the calendar for tomorrow, or trying to stay, you know, I wasn't trying to think of like, all right, what are we going to do next or anything like that. It was nice to just kind of chill.
Yeah. And definitely, you know, first year in business, you know, I probably had 4 days off.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
so that did allow us, you know, like, okay, well, we're going to be closed Sunday. We're going to be open like 4 to 7.
Mm-hmm.
And with it being for the first month or so, anyways, basically just crowler sales until we got some cans in and stuff. It was like, okay, well, 7 and okay. I'm the only one in the register, so what's it supposed to be? Yep, that's closed.
Yeah.
And I'd usually had, you know, not anyone in there for the last however long, so I'd already wiped down everything and just so it would be like 7:15, I'd be out of there. Then, you know, okay, well, now we're open again. Now it's 9. Okay, well, now these people are here till 9:30, 9:45, and now I'm still, it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, you get, you know, from 15 minutes after you're out of there to like, oh, now it's an hour and a half, 2 hours to get out of here. And it's 2 more hours. So it's like, well, now I'm getting home at 11 instead of, you know, 7:15.
During all of this, was there ever from any of like the governing organizations, was there ever someone that like called or like an official email sent out to you, or I'm assuming you speak for all businesses, right? Was there ever like a phone call like, hey, Andrew, listen, as a small business owner, here is what you should be doing in terms of like health standards and cleanliness, and also here's the like regulations and rules you have to follow for how to serve and how to deliver. Was there ever like an official thing like, here's your manual?
Not 100%, but
Okay.
so our chef Janine was still with us at that time. She was initially after the shutdown, and she immediately reached out to Department of Health, and they were like, "Thank you for contacting us," cool. And you know, and she was like, "You know, this is what I'm doing. What else do I need to do?" And all that. And they said, "Nope, that's
cool.
Great." There was some guidance sent out from the county Department of Health. You know, basically just trying to keep us up on that aspect of it. The rules and regulations for what is allowed and not allowed is a whole nother story.
Yeah.
In how that information
Yeah.
came out and gets clarified and all that.
Yeah.
Certainly some challenges to that. I just kind of always tried to look at it as this is challenging for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there was some communication that could have been done better, but
Yeah.
let's just assume that, this is just with everyone's best interest in heart.
Sure.
And that, because if you don't think that, that's a,
Yeah, man. You go into you can
like,
really get to a
let's
dark
just, we
space.
are kind of all in this together, and let's just
Yeah.
figure this out. Oh, okay, that could have been communicated better, absolutely. And yes, we're all frustrated and losing a shit ton of money right now, and, but everyone's been pretty understanding with everything,
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's I don't know if there probably is some industries there's definitely industries that were hurt worse than others.
Yeah.
But I have a couple people that I work with that are in like the wedding industry. And they are, every single week it seems like they've got something that they're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
That's a pretty crazy fucking business to be in right now for sure.
Definitely.
It's amazing the people. I was just telling somebody a story. There was a venue that this bride and groom, they had like put their wedding off for, 3 or 4 different times.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to have it on a weekend, and they were going to have like more than they were supposed to. They were going to have like 65 or 70 people there. And the wedding venue was like, listen, fine. Cool, let's do it. We need your money. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the guests sent their invitation into the state liquor authority and was like, hey, this wedding's going on and there's going to be more than 50 people there. It's
Well,
not funny. It's really sad, but
yeah,
it's yeah, man.
And I get that too. Like,
Yeah. It's hard. It's a really tough position because in one side you want to think like, screw that. These people need to stay open. They need this bride and groom's money, right? They have to put people to work and pay their mortgage. And on the other side, it's like, but, what is this going to do?
Yeah, most of the regulations aren't about the regulation. Like, it's not like the cheeseburger is going to prevent you from getting COVID. It's
Right.
the fact that you're there. It's the reason that you're there.
Mm-hmm.
That you know what I'm saying. I mean, it's
man.
just.
Yeah.
Yes, it's one of these businesses isn't more likely than the other to transmit
Right.
or this or that, or if this is allowed, why shouldn't this be allowed? It's just trying to keep it down overall in the first place.
Yeah.
And bring things back as it makes sense. Now, does everything make sense?
No.
You have
Right.
things like the food thing, like Thirsty Pug in Auburn. Like, they got totally
Oh, did
jacked on that because
they? I don't know what that story.
so basically, because they're a bottle shop and they have a little tasting room with food. So because of that, they fall into the category where to get to go, you need to have food. So now anyone that's going there to grab a 6-pack
Wow.
needs to get food.
Yeah.
So that just doesn't, some of the regulations help people and not others.
Yeah.
Like we were saying, outdoor seating. Well,
Yeah.
there's places around here have a ton of outdoor seating. That's great. We got 3-4 tops on
Right.
the sidewalk, and that's it. So, that didn't help us so much. It helped other people. So there's always going to be,
Yeah.
when you have measures like that, some people are going to be impacted more than others. And then it's just, this is not going away. How are we going to adapt to it?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be like, well, we're just going to ride this out. That's not going to,
No.
that strategy was not going to work. So
No.
we realized that very quickly and like, okay, this is not going to just be like, okay, well, we could probably do this till June, I guess. And then at that point, we got to be open again, right? Like they can't expect us to be like this past June.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah, for sure, man.
August what? So it's how it is, It's just trying to adapt and keep moving forward. We went towards cans because it wasn't just our tasting room sales. All the bars and restaurants that we were selling beer to all are now in the same position we are. We probably have 2 of those 60 accounts that are starting to get beer again for bars and restaurants.
Really?
You know,
Yeah.
and we've focused now on the bottle shops and getting everything out to stores where people can get us. And so we're like Elmira, Watertown.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was in Barneveld and Ilion and New Hartford and
Wow.
Rome and Marcy. You know, like just we got to get it out there. We got to keep doing something. The tasting room is not really going to take care of itself at 50% capacity, which is really 30% capacity because of the 6-foot rule. You know, can't even get to 50%.
All right.
But that's fine. You know, we're kind of taking the approach like, yep, this is what we can do. If we have this many tables, this is how many staff we need. This is how much we can make or lose, and that will work, and we'll supplement that on the outside and try and get money, you know, make more money outside of the tasting room for the next year or so.
Yeah, that's cool. How far before all of this were you guys going out with the cans and stuff?
Really, it's basically Cortland and Ithaca, Auburn. We had just picked up Watertown.
Okay, that's cool.
And that was about it. So now we've picked up, you know, Utica, Rome, down to Binghamton, Elmira, Waverly.
Yeah, wow.
And we just got into Rochester.
That's cool.
And, you know, we had one place we were getting into. Now we just picked up a second, and a place in Buffalo has actually reached out to us yesterday.
That's awesome.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
how do we make this happen?
That's great.
So, I think, you know, what we're doing is just keep moving forward. And,
Yeah.
you know, we did a collaboration with Swiftwater in Rochester, which
Yeah.
is one of our biggest influences. When I was living there, that was, you know, for me, the brewery that was like, this is the place that makes me want to do this, and this is how I want to do it. Like just the styles, the whole thing about the place being a part of it and the experience being a part of it. It's not just,
Yeah.
hey, here's some beer, here you go, you know, and these are our 4 beers and like them.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, well, let's try this. What if we did this? and just a great staff, great food, everything, you know. So to be able to do that, and that really, I think, helps propel us in the Rochester market. Like we're already seeing, like, you know, like places that were like, oh yeah, no, that was pretty good. You know, we'll give you a call when we're ready to bring you on. And now they're like, oh yeah, so what do you have?
That's cool.
So that's pretty cool from that.
That's awesome. Is there a lot of money in wholesaling cans out like that?
No.
I
mean, the margins on the product itself are low, and then you also need.
Are they really?
Oh, they're so low for cans. Yeah.
Oh, for cans. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then so, I mean, if you think about, like, you know, you have a pint for, let's say, $6.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a $24 4-pack, which.
Yeah.
Okay, there are some 24 for like ours 18 to 20 is the high end on ours.
Yeah.
You know, they start 12 and kind of go up to 18, 20. But yeah, just the And so now you've not only are you selling the product for less, but you've also had to bring someone in to can it. You have the cans, you have the labels, you have the artwork for the cans and all that. You know,
and
so
those labels aren't cheap.
No, they're not.
No.
And then you'd got so you gotta and with our model, like we don't have like, hey, these are our 4 beers, so we could say like, okay, well, let's just buy 30,000 labels.
Right.
You know, we do a lot of small batch stuff, and our beer is very personal and has a story, and they're all their own thing, and they all need their own recognition. So it's harder to try and like, okay, well, we got to, you know, we're only going to get 50 cases of this and 40 of that. And well, okay, we're going to do this twice, so we'll get 80, but still at those levels.
Right, for sure. Well, I mean, you guys are, I remember, you know, like IBU is now closed, right?
Yeah.
Or will be, which sucks. I've said that they were probably like my favorite, but I think that may be just because they were like the first brewery with Eat Local that I ever really kind of connected with.
Right.
And I mean, shit, I remember like 2 years ago being in there on like a Monday, Tuesday morning, and the 2 mics are up there like hand canning and putting the labels on
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
With just that little canning machine,
Yeah.
that fucking lever. And so, it's obviously, I mean, they're the owners, so their time, or Mike, but I mean, their time is kind of built in. But towards the end, I think they were hiring like that mobile canning company that you guys use, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely, I mean, Tim would tell me that he's like, there's no money in wholesale, like no money in wholesale. You spend a year, he's like, we ran out and sold however much money in beer and wholesale, and then looked at the end of the year and we're like, oh, but we didn't make anything off of it either.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because on top of the lower product, now you also have to have someone that's out there selling it, and they're driving somewhere to sell it. So you've got a vehicle, you've got gas, and
Right.
labor and all that. So it's kind of like, okay, so they need to sell this much per week to basically, from the profit from that would be enough just to pay them. But it also does get the name out there.
Right.
So, now someone is going to be in Rochester and see that and be like, okay, I'm going to try that. And then next time they're coming to Syracuse, they're going to go, hey, that was a good beer. I'm going to check them out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then, with the capacity we're at right now, it's, kind of a wash. But, with our latest can release, it was, our best Tuesday in
That's awesome.
ages.
Yeah.
Since shutdown, certainly. So,
Yeah. I've got to say I liked your beers because they weren't typical. So like, it seemed like everywhere you went, which don't get me wrong, I love a good New England IPA, but everywhere there was like 5 of them. And one thing I really liked about your menu is that like I wouldn't just be overrun with different New England IPAs to choose from. Having said that, Bobby fans are people too is fucking awesome.
That will be back. It's there's like maybe a pint left in the last keg right now.
Okay.
I'm like,
I got a crowler of it the other night.
Oh, excellent!
Yeah, and then went home and got drunk. So.
Yeah, so that'll be coming back later this year, early next year. It's definitely that one is one.
Yeah,
that,
man.
That one we will absolutely make again. So
yeah, that was just I actually had it on. I had I forget where I bought them, but I don't think I came down to Talking Cursive and bought them.
Could have been a Fair Deli branching out.
I bought them at Kasai. That's what it was.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kasai was selling. He was selling cans, and so I went there for lunch. And as I was leaving to come here to do the podcast with Steve, it was like, just give me those 2 cans from Talking Cursive, and we had them, and both of us on the episode were like, this is great, this is a phenomenal beer, because it's like it's a great New England IPA, but it's got just a little bit of that sweetness, and that's something I haven't really had in a beer like that before. It was a really fucking good beer, man.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
thank
really
you.
good. Yeah, so you have this idea, you're like, you and your wife are coming together with getting into opening a brewery and all that kind of stuff. And you guys have been in hospitality. Weren't you in the Marine Corps?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long were you in the Marines?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What years were that?
92 to 96. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. What was that like?
Interesting.
The Marine Corps.
Yes. I got to see the world, though. I was stationed in Okinawa, and I just stayed over there for the most part.
Oh, wow.
And it was very eye-opening, and coming from a small town in New Woodstock, 400 people.
Yeah.
My third grade class was like 23 or something.
Right.
To seeing the world, it's
it
was great, but not something I wanted to do for the rest of my life, but it was a great experience, and I would never regret any of it.
Right. There was when I used to work in Buffalo, my territory for the company I worked at was Olean, like all the way down there. So it was like Niagara Falls to Olean was like north to south. And a buddy of mine that I worked with had grown up in Olean, and so he told me he was in the Army, and he was like, yeah, there's like this like weird statistic of Olean is like it was like 30 or 40% of graduating high school boys join the army or join some branch of the military. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah. I was like, that's crazy. And then I got to Olean and I realized why. Because there's fucking nothing. I mean, it was like, yeah, sweet. Yeah, there's nothing down there. I think St. Bonaventure is there, but that's
Like,
pretty much it.
you grow up, like you're waving the flag, you're in the Boy
Yeah.
Scouts, and
Yeah,
just
man.
it's small town America.
Yeah. There
Little
is.
pink houses.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I always wanted to join the army. That was always, I don't know if it was because I was like, I was homeschooled, and up until a certain age, I really didn't do anything being homeschooled. And so I'd sit home and watch movies all the time. And so I grew, and of course, like growing up in like a Christian Republican home, like I was, I think, like 13, and my dad took me to see Saving Private Ryan in the movie theater, so at a young age, and dad wasn't in the army or anything like that, but like my grandfather was, my papaw, my mom's dad, he was in the army, and cousins and all that kind of stuff. But nobody like really like in the immediate family. But I grew up, I always wanted to join the army. I just would like thought about it coming out of high school, and then I wound up moving and didn't do it. And then when I was probably like 22, 23 was like, I owned a furniture store and that was closing. And I was like, well, what am I going to do now? And I was like, I could, join the army again. And that was the closest I had ever gone. Because I had done it like 3 or 4 times where I'd like go in and talk to a recruiter. But that time I like went as far as like taking my ASVAB. And it was this really weird thing. I had a meeting to go meet with the recruiter after I'd taken my ASVAB to like sign my like intent contract, whatever the hell it was. And I had an appointment with him to go do it. And I showed up, and the captain was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, oh, I'm supposed to meet with Sergeant to, sign my paperwork. He was like, oh, he didn't call you? I was like, no. He was like, he had a family emergency. He had to go out of town. He won't be back for like a week. I was like, okay. I was like, he's like, he'll call you when he gets back and you can sign it there. And I never heard from him. So, and I was an idiot. So I wanted to go infantry, and I had thankfully a low enough score to go into the infantry. Hopefully they weren't ghosting me. That's I didn't want to be like a nuclear engineer that like failed the ASVAB or anything like that. But yeah, man. So that's what that was the closest I had ever come to it. That was about it. But my brother's like in federal government, law enforcement, and so he always wanted to do the same thing, be in some form of military or something like that. It's admirable, man. It's fucking crazy,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you're in the Marine Corps, and were you married at the time when you went into the Marines?
No.
Okay.
No. So I went through a few years of college, not completing it. Went to one of my buddies was a senior in high school, and so he was going to the recruiter, and he's like, "Oh, come on down." And I was like, "Okay, all right, and
Yeah.
and then kind of figured, okay, well, I can make this much, and I can save all this money because I'll just be,
Yeah. Right. Yeah, for sure.
but did the analysis on it. Seemed like the right thing to do. It was, certainly something, like I said, you grow up in a small town, all patriotic like
Right.
that. It's just.
Yeah.
Marines, absolutely. If
yeah,
you're gonna
man.
do it, let's do the best. All right, go for it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, man.
yeah. So yeah, no, I was not married at the time. My wife and I have known each other since about 4 years after I got out.
Okay.
We just got married like 2016. It's 2020, 4 years
Oh,
ago.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, it really is like it's pretty easy to like get swept up into the whole thing. I mean, my cousin Ryan, who joined the Marine Corps when he was in high school, his like beginning of his senior year, he signed up for it. And I just remember like two of the recruiting Marines would come to like all of his high school events, like senior night and like homecoming and all that kind of stuff, like the homecoming basketball game. You'd see these two Marines dressed in their fucking dress blues, standing there, and it'd be like, oh my God, there's something about that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if a lot of people signed up for the military during COVID. Oh,
don't know.
Yeah, I should. Yeah,
that'd be an interesting.
That would be an interesting.
Statistic.
Yeah, for sure, man. All right, so so you're in the Marines. Get out. What do you do from there?
Came back here, got into more restaurant jobs. I lived over there for a while, working at a restaurant in Japan. Long story short, got deported, ended up in the Philippines, got married there, came back here.
Wow. Hold on. All right. I don't need the details, but all right. So you're in the Marine.
Working without a visa. It wasn't anything like evil or anything.
Yeah, I didn't think you got deported for like drug trafficking or something.
No.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Just working without a visa.
Yeah. In Japan though. All right, so you go from
there. They
there.
frown on that. I don't know.
Yeah, apparently. How long were you there working without a visa?
About 6 months.
Wow, that long.
Yeah. No, and we were working on a plan. Like there was the marriage plan. There was the job on base plan that would then allow me to stay there, and then. Something happened. Somebody called somebody, and someone figured something out. And and then all of a sudden, it was kind of like this with a big window in the front, except like double this windows in front. Okay. And all of a sudden, there's like guys in suits coming from all directions.
Oh wow!
Walking towards, and I'm like, well, that's odd. Okay. You Andrew Brooks? Yes.
Did you learn? I mean, you were. How long were you in Japan in the Corps?
4 years, basically. Okay. Well, about 3.5.
Wow.
So then most of it.
That's a long time.
And then
to be
there a little bit longer. Yeah.
Were you at there's one base over there, one Marine base, or?
There's a few. I was stationed at Camp Courtney. There are a few other bases there as well. Yeah.
That's pretty wild to be there that whole time, right?
Yeah. No, it was definitely an experience.
Did you learn how to speak Japanese?
Pretty well. I mean, enough to like go out in town and order. Now on Okinawa, most of the places, most people speak English also.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah. So you don't necessarily have to go to learn it all, but if you want to be out in town, I mean, it's their country.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
yeah. Right, man. Yeah. I almost moved to Beijing at one point when I was living in Texas. I had this weird, because I was working at that church. I heard about this like American missionary that was in Beijing, and this is a really fucking weird story. But he was, I think he was from Philadelphia originally. Anyways, he was extremely large. I mean, this guy weighed like 450 pounds. He was a huge fucking white dude living in Beijing. And you couldn't be in Beijing, you couldn't be in China and be there overtly as a missionary. So you had to be there for something else. Mm-hmm. And then and so he had set up basically this front in China to start a school to teach English, to students. And apparently, people paid, in China, they paid a lot of money for their kids from, kindergarten through high school to learn how to speak English really, really well.
Yeah.
And so he had this business doing that. And so what he would do, and he wound up starting a church over there. And so what he would do is he would bring American Christians who wanted to come over and be missionaries in Beijing. They would have to get a job as a ESL teacher first. Right. And then get over there, and they would basically work during the day. They might be an in-home private tutor at a school, all this kind of stuff. And so I was considering doing it. I even had a couple video interviews with principals of schools over there. And one of the big things was I had a little bit of a bigger beard at the time, and I guess that's super frowned upon in China to have a beard. It's super aggressive if you have a beard. So But it was kind of cool because, like, if you were in China, you could go into Mongolia, and you could go. So they would take like these mission trips from China into Mongolia, and they would try and, like, spread the good message, right? But the only way that you could do it is you couldn't go there as like on a mission trip into Mongolia. You only go there as like a front to feed the poor, and you could like go there and like have like a soup kitchen or like have like you do whatever, work in like their feeding lines, whatever the hell you call them, and you were allowed to like pray under your breath while you were doing it. But like they would do that as their mission trips. I came pretty close to moving over there, and the like pretty like I won't say it like the last second, like I was about to board the plane, but I was pretty into it, and then I was like, something doesn't feel right about this, so I wound up not doing it. It was probably for the better. But anyways, the weird part of it is, because he was like this really large American, he was like an attraction in Beijing. And so he was on all of these like Chinese television shows, like their like variety shows and shit like that. And he was like, I forget exactly the translation, but it was basically like the big white, or like the big dancing, like big American dancing preacher, because his shtick was that he would like sing all these Christian songs, but he would like dance while he does. So if you can just imagine on like Chinese like variety shows, right? Yeah, you got that in your head, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now put this 450-pound American dude, pastor, who's singing like songs about God and dancing at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, you have that image in your head?
Yeah.
So that's what this dude was. And so I don't know what it was, but like I wound up not doing it.
Yeah.
I could have been, him. I could have been
the
like
next dancing preacher. Yeah.
People are going to be listening to that story on this podcast and be like, what the fuck are they talking about? But yeah, I did not move to Beijing.
No, it's good to get out and see the world, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just in general.
We don't travel a lot, but like one thing, COVID, like I had this thought like during quarantine. We went to Hawaii in February. I've been trying to convince my wife to move back, or to like move to Hawaii ever since. And she's never going to do that. But I'm always like, I just want to fucking go back to Hawaii. There was like, I've never felt more peaceful and at ease, and like, I mean, rum and pineapple juice and the fucking beach out there, man. I mean, I can't think of anything better.
Yeah.
So a couple times during quarantine, I was like looking at plane tickets. I was like, look how cheap these fucking plane tickets are. But you can't go, like, because you'd have to quarantine there for 2 weeks. And there was just that kind of feeling of, I was like being boxed in. There's a couple days there where I was like panicking, like, we can't leave. We can't get out of here. So now everybody's traveling to like the Northeast, New England for their vacations.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. But it's important to get out for sure.
Definitely.
I mean, honestly, even heading to like Buffalo, you know, especially for somebody in our industry, to see what others are doing out there. I can't get over, since we switched to Eat Local New York and I started following all these other restaurants and breweries all over the state, I had no idea how many large, like, well-known breweries existed in Buffalo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, I would have thought they were national companies.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, like, Rochester's probably 2 to 4 years ahead of Syracuse, and Buffalo's, 2 to 4 years ahead of them as far as, like, breweries coming up and just where the scene is at. But we're, on overall, I think, on the rise. There's, it's always sad to see some places close, but in any industry, that's going to happen, especially when you throw a pandemic into it as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not like failed businesses. It's
Right.
just circumstances and things like that. And even if you look at some of the other ones, around and what the the actual reasons are.
Yeah.
More often than not, it's just circumstances and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think what's coming out, there's more and better breweries coming to this area, and we'll just end up, being
Yeah.
one of those places where like, oh yeah, you got to go to Syracuse and you got to go to boom, boom, boom.
Mm-hmm.
The better we all are together,
Yeah.
it's still an industry where people are trying it for the first time, and things like that. So if they go to a brewery and the beer's not good, they're going, oh, see, I told you I didn't like craft beer.
Yeah.
And then don't give anyone else a chance. So we want everyone to be better. And most people in the industry,
Right.
feel the same way. Like there's we're all helping each other out. Like when this started, we have a group, the Snow Belt Collective, and it's all the brewers in the area. And everyone's on there like, okay, what are you hearing? What's
that's
working
cool.
for you and all this? And, hey, we need this. Does anybody have any of this? It's all,
That's awesome.
It's a great community, and there's a lot of collaboration
Yeah.
behind the scenes that we all, help each other out with things.
That's great.
Like Isaac from Middle Ages, he's down at our place all the time. We need something. He's like, yep, what do you need? I'll bring it down. That's $4,000. You don't need to buy that. Let me bring that down tomorrow for you to use.
That's cool.
Just and ideas and
Yeah.
best practices and, well, what if you did this? And, we
Yeah.
just help each other out all the time. It's a great community.
Can you get better, like for your beer? Is there, like if I tried Bobby Fans or People 2 in like 2 years, would it taste different? Like through like your process of learning how to make beer, or is it like the best it's gonna be?
I think every beer's a little bit different on that scale. Like there's some that I think like we just nailed the first time out. Like, but at the same time, doesn't mean there's not like a little change I can try and make. I think we're always trying to do processes better.
Yeah.
I think when we first started and learning the equipment and on this same scale and everything and getting everything to, like a 7-barrel batch, there is some challenge there. And so I think, we had some beers that were good and not great. And now we're working to like get those to be, good to very good and very good to great and just keep going from there.
Yeah.
Something like the Irish Red, I probably will make very, very minimal changes to that ever, whereas like New England IPAs, things like that, I call them the hypier beers, those, what's hype is going to change.
Yeah.
And with something like that, there's, I think, a lot of times you can always do something better next time. Bobby specifically, I can't think of anything I would do next time differently.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean there won't be some other process we come up with, or like, oh, well, if we do this, this will increase efficiency and we can use this much less
Yeah.
grain. But then your hop utilization is different because
Yeah.
there's lots of factors in everything. Every little change you make changes little things along the way. Like we started doing water profiles and adding, just a little bit of, salts and that kind of thing to
that's
it.
cool.
And it, like a very little amount makes a huge difference in the final product. So.
Yeah. When we were in Hawaii, we were talking to the people out at, Jesus, what the hell is the name of the brewery in Hawaii? Whatever it is. It's like a huge national one, right?
Maui, I think.
Yeah, something like that. And they're on Kona. And anyways, they were saying, because they have, they're distributed all over the country now. And so they have breweries in like Colorado and all this kind of stuff. And obviously it's not theirs. They sold to a conglomerate, but they were just saying like they have like a specific mineral pack that they send, each brewery, each location dumps in the water before they make that batch. So that way, you have that, you can taste the beer in Hawaii or in Colorado and it's going to taste exactly the same.
Yeah. No, and that's something, like even, I'll throw the Budweiser word around, but like say what you want about that beer specifically, but no matter where you have it, it's made anywhere in the world with whatever water they have there, and they make it in some interesting places.
For sure. Yeah.
that maybe wouldn't be known for the best quality of
Right.
water and that kind of thing. And whatever they get, it's wherever that beer is made, it tastes exactly the same.
Yeah, for sure.
Not that that's good, but
Right.
it's exactly the same. I mean, the science that they have brought to
Yeah.
that we use every day.
Mhm.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
something to be said about that. There's a reason they do things the way they do.
Right. I was having that conversation with Steve Samuels a little bit, just about like somebody in food and beverage, you have to be on your game every single night, because if I go into work and have a bad day and I don't get as much done, like, who cares? I mean, my boss does, but other than that, who cares? But if you're a chef, if you're making beer, if you're making somebody's food and you go in and you have a bad day, I mean, that's somebody's eating that. And there's people who, like that one rough experience, they're not coming back.
Right.
So it is a very different story. And that's, honestly, it's like the thing I hate. We went to a restaurant for lunch this week, and the thing that I get there all the time was terrible. It was so incredibly bad. It just tasted old.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like that. It's like, I'd say it's like 30% of the time it's off. It's just so inconsistent. So I really do like that, if I'm going to go get this at this place, it's going to be the same freaking thing every
Right.
time,
Right.
That's why I drink a lot of Bud. No, I'm just kidding. Well, thanks for coming down, man.
Yeah.
I really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Yeah. So where can people find you?
Right now, at our tasting room,
Mm-hmm.
around town. Gosh, I should have been prepared for this.
No,
I
that's
know
all right.
branching out, Fair Deli Mart are
Yeah.
two of the bigger stores that were in around here.
Fair Deli Mart's on the card, and they surprisingly have a lot of craft beer out there.
Oh, they do.
They've
They
got a
do.
great selection.
Absolutely, and some great sandwiches as well. They've
Yeah.
a Heddick Reuben.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah, man.
crazy good.
Yeah, they're good people out there.
Definitely,
So-
definitely.
Well, get down to Talking Cursive. You can't try Bobby Fans or people too. But
Probably
there's-
not.
But there's plenty of other good beers. Peter's Boat Beer is another one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, that'll probably be back next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, shit, I just
Yeah,
named two beers that people get.
everything got this year
Yeah.
everything got thrown out. The whole schedule's thrown out of the water. Like,
Yeah.
we're not going to have time to get an Oktoberfest in, are we? Okay.
Yeah. What was that really? The second. I mean, you don't know what beer we had, but it was very, as my friend Trey described it, very dank tasting. It was an IPA, and it wasn't Bobby Fans.
There was a How You Doing
I think
that we
that
had
was
that
it.
just came off also. Yeah, we're just like in the middle of switching them all out.
Just
For
get
the
down
next
there and
round,
get
yeah.
it. Just ask for a beer.
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
There's plenty of good ones.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you.